Now, not all this video is going to be on YouTube. A portion of it will be, but some of it is just too controversial for the good censors of YouTube.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Also, please follow me on bittube.video. You can also follow me on Odyssey. These are both censorship-resistant platforms, and every now and then I am going to post a video which isn't going to be on YouTube. Hi everybody, this is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits, and this is a little excursion from cryptocurrency into the domains of health and also politics and current affairs. Now, I have occasionally done the odd video on health, and I do regularly do videos on current affairs and politics. Most recently, a 2-hour interview that I carried out with Alexander Mercouris of the Duran and Tom Luongo of Gold Guts and Guns. And you can find that in its entirety on the other censorship-resistant platforms. And those links to those platforms are in the description below. Now, in this video, I'm going to be going through this Twitter thread from the Weston A. Price Foundation regarding a particular treatment that everybody's talking about all over the world. And what I'm going to be looking at is what do they say with regards to the legal rights that you and I have, particularly in the UK, but also making reference to New Zealand and the US and Ireland. Now, as well as not being a financial advisor, given that I normally cover cryptocurrencies, you should also know that I'm not in any way a legal counsel. So I'm not in any position to say whether or not what Weston A. Price Foundation is saying is accurate or not, and you should really check it out for yourself. However, I did find it really interesting, and I hope you find it useful. Now, I'm not a nutritional consultant either, which becomes relevant because the first part of this video, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Weston A. Price. And to catch the whole of this video, you are going to have to watch it on the other platforms. Now, Weston A. Price was a dentist. He eventually set up the American Dental Association. And in the early part of the 20th century, he got really, really interested between the relationship between diet and dentition. And he spent something like 10 years traveling around the world, talking to pre-industrial healthy societies and asking them about their health and about what they ate. And one of the things he discovered was that where communities were eating their traditional pre-industrial, pre-processed foods, they had really, really great health and they had really great teeth. They also had round, wide faces. He identified 11 principles that all traditional diets had. And this applied whether they were people living in the Amazon, on Swiss mountainsides, in Asia, in Africa, wherever there were healthy people subsisting on pre-industrial traditional diets, these principles were present. So one is they didn't have any refined or denatured foods such as sugar, high fructose corn syrup, white flour, canned foods, pasteurized, homogenized skim or low-fat milk, no hydrogenated vegetable oils, there I said it, no protein powders, synthetic vitamins, or toxic additives and artificial colorings. 2, they all consumed some form of animal food with a preference for organ meats and fats. The diets of healthy non-industrialized people contained at least 4 times the minerals and water-soluble vitamins and 10 times the fat-soluble vitamins found in the average American diet. Traditional cultures cooked some of their food, but they all consumed a portion of their animal foods raw. Their diets had a high content of food enzymes and beneficial bacteria from lacto-fermented vegetables, fruits, beverages, dairy products, meats, and condiments. Seeds, grains, and nuts were soaked, sprouted, and fermented before being consumed. The balance of fat calories was in the form of saturated and monounsaturated fatty acids, and the total fat content was from 30% to 80%. They had nearly equal amounts of omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. They all consumed salt. They all made use of animal bones in the form of gelatin-rich bone broths. And they took special care of infants, pregnant women, and growing children by giving them special nutrient-rich animal foods. So, of course, that would be mother's milk, but also egg yolks and liver. Now, I discovered the work of Weston A. Price from the research and the digging in I started doing after I came across this article by Jared Diamond, The Worst Mistake in the History of the Human Race. Now, I thought, the internal combustion engine, the Kalashnikov rifle, nuclear power, what would be the worst mistake in the history of the human race? And in the article, Jared Diamond argues that it was agriculture. And I was like, what? Agriculture? He then goes on to make a case that what happened with agriculture is we replaced nutrient-rich foods with potatoes, corn, wheat, and rice that are energy rich but nutrient poor. Agriculture also led to an explosion in population, settled communities, wealth inequalities because it was possible to store food and thus acquire wealth that way, and also class and gender inequalities, whereas hunter-gatherers had been egalitarian societies, agriculture gave rise to feudalism, patriarchy, and religious beliefs that were born out of that social milieu. And I thought this was all really fascinating, and it was outside my purview. It didn't fit anything I knew or had been taught about diet and nutrition. Then I thought the most important thing really is for me to test it on myself. Now, I've been a vegan, I've been vegetarian, I've food combined, I've done nothing in particular, and I was at that point doing nothing in particular. So I took on eliminating refined carbohydrates from my diet. So essentially a high-fat, low-carb diet. And as I was learning about this and digging into this, I came across the Weston A. Price Foundation. Now, I've been high-fat, low-carb for, 9 years or something. I lose count. And I've had all sorts of health improvements. I found it incredibly tasty, incredibly easy to do and to maintain. And like I said, I've had all sorts of health improvements over and beyond the health improvements that I'd had when I was vegan or vegetarian. Way more energy. I sleep better. My thinking is clearer. I can go days without eating, without any crashes for hunger. I really enjoy the taste of the food that I eat. My hay fever's cleared up completely, and I don't get colds or flus anymore. They disappeared. I never strictly followed the principles of the Weston A. Price diet, but I learned a lot from what they said, and I've journeyed through the whole high-fat, low-carb domain. And I would now say that I am keto carnivore. Mostly what I eat is animal products. I eat lots and lots of eggs. I eat lots and lots of red meat with a preference for the fatty cuts and the organs when I can get them. And oh my God, the fatty cuts taste so good. I have lots of Kerrygold butter, and I have a little bit of onion and garlic in my masala and the odd fruit. I do regular intermittent fasting, and I've found it very, very easy to sustain. My blood work is really, really great, unless, of course, you adhere to the notion that LDL, high LDL, is really, really bad for you, which I don't notion. It's really, really good for big pharma's profits because they are able to distribute statins to lower LDL. But all I've had is lots and lots of health improvements. So I'm grateful to the Weston A. Price Foundation for the information that they put out because I learned a lot. Now, they have a commitment to optimizing people's health through great nutrition, unprocessed, locally sourced, as near to natural as possible foods. That's what they say improves health. So of course, given what's going on in the world right now, they're really interested and actively involved in educating people with regards to how they can take care of themselves as coronavirus, or rather lockdowns, rage through the world. Now, their work includes paying due regard to vitamin D. I have a video on bittube.tv and bittube.video, and it's going to be on Odyssey, where I speak to two experts about vitamin D and how powerful and effective it is in maintaining general health. Now, the thing about vitamin D is you need to have enough fats in your body to be able to move it around, and you need to have enough cholesterol to synthesize vitamin D. So given their commitment for people to be healthy, it wasn't too much of a leap, I think, for them to get involved with regards to coronavirus and educating people in what they can do in order to protect themselves. Now, this is from Threadreader app, and it shows a series of tweets that they posted. And the first tweet says that vaccines in the UK are not mandatory. There is an exemption on evidence of medical reasons, and the Supreme Court recognizes at common law that denial of free and informed consent is a self-certified medical reason. And they refer to case law in 2015, Montgomery versus Lanarkshire. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you are going to have to come over onto Odyssey, where this will be uploaded, and later on it will be uploaded onto bittube.tv and bittube.video. That takes a little bit longer to happen, but this whole video in its entirety is already up on Odyssey. Now, all their tweets give links to source documents. Now, I'm not going to go through all the source documents, but I will have this linked in the description below, and you can look through it yourself. Another case they cite is R. Wilkinson versus Broadmoor.